And right there, if you're too slow, he will suck you in before he explodes. That's just the nature of it. He'll suck you in before you get a chance. And here's basically just me being like, okay, well, I got the first few levels memorized, but the last bit of the game I never really have memorized specifically for like where stuff is. But I'm also usually powerful by this point. I'm either powerful or I haven't made it to this point yet where I'm cheating like this. Which also means I'm powerful, therefore I need to worry about it. Also, look, more bullet spam. Now, this is actually kind of bullet spammy even in easy, but it's still kind of a problem. This is the second check for speed ups. If you don't have 2 speed ups for this part, you can't climb this fast. We try to go up, and eventually you'll hit a wall. I don't mean like a skill wall. I mean a physical wall. Also, right there, there's a root spot right there. If you go down that path, it'll just run you into a wall. I think it's also right in my... I don't know if it's right there or not. And this part's kind of cool. You just go down this long tunnel. This level's kind of neat. I like this. I like the concept of this level, this little speed highway. Nice reflexes, kind of fun. But yeah. Long story short, it's kind of hectic though. So... then we have this boss. Takes forever to open his thing eye, and then once he does, he just starts throwing out these things. I accidentally got hit. This boss will sometimes catch me off guard because I'll be attacking it and then it will just catch me off guard sometimes. There's another point where I try to... Where I'll explain, I'll show it a little bit. Anyway, Contra. New Contra. So I like what I've seen of the remake so far. I also like the fact they added a story to it because a lot of old games didn't have that much story going on. This kind of reminds me of the fact that like Strangers of Paradise feels like a Final Fantasy 1 remake. And that's basically how I read it. And honestly, even through playing it, I don't feel like I'm wrong. I don't feel like I'm wrong in saying that I think it's a Final Fantasy 1 remake. But it's got a few differences. Like, you don't go after the Earth Crystal first, you go after the Final Crystal. Other than that. Like, it feels like a remake so far. I bet there's some other twists and turns in there as well to actually explain it. But I feel like it's basically... Final Fantasy 1, but caught in the time loop. Is what it feels like to me. Also, welcome to Boss Rush. Gradius games like to have boss rushes. Now, again, after this game, the Game Boy game, and the Game Boy Advance game, I don't know these games very well. That's going to be a hectic thing in itself. Trying to actually learn new patterns for Gradius games. And that's what I'm saying, it's like, they're not very user-friendly. But even like, I think that's actually where I make when we get to the Game Boy game, which is the next one I'm going to probably record audio for. It's like, it's actually becoming my favorite Gradius game because it is basically what I would want out of a Gradius experience. 1000%. I love these games for just like taking you on these little space tours and just blasting cool ships and stuff. I love the boss designs of these games. I love a lot of the stuff these games have to offer. Like, I absolutely love the Gradius series, which is why, like, I wanted to pick up the game for my son so he could check it out. Also, this thing's a butt. Anyway, alright, I want to say why this thing's a butt, because this is basically just a Toho battle. This is just straight up bullet hell. And there's no way around this. This is just bullet hell. This is straight up. Except I think it's more randomized than a Toho thing. The Toho patterns are specific a pattern. Here's where I make a mistake, because I think I'm like, oh, the boss is getting low. Boom, dead. It's one of those bosses where that fight, you do not look at the boss. This attempt, I'm like, alright, you know, I'm going to see if I can get some power-ups. Pretty good. Just get the power-ups on my own. Perfect. There's like enough, there's like a huge chunk of power-ups right here. I was like, I'll just get the power-ups on my own and it'll be perfect. There's another inconsistency with the Konami code trick. It works sometimes, it doesn't work other times. Like, if you have it on a continue, it'll sometimes work. Like if you're starting a fresh continue, it'll work again. But then sometimes just won't. Like, sometimes it'll work like 2 or 3 lives, and then sometimes it just won't work on another life. It's just like, what? Makes no sense. Alright, well. Okay, apparently I didn't beat it that time. I actually thought I didn't. But then there's this guy. This guy is a pain. I don't like this dude. There's way too many lasers. And then he, like, comes and charges at you. And sometimes you're just not able to get between his lasers because you think you are, but then it just goes right through you, and it's just not good times. And I get just backhanded by that. Remember, this is my last continue, and it's like, okay, you know what? That's it. That's it. No, we're not dealing with that. Like, I wouldn't have issues with using the cheat code, but I also hate the fact the game has limited continues. Like, again, that's one of my biggest gripes about older games is limited continues. Like, I could basically be like, okay, I'm going to actually explain this more in detail of why I make my complaints the way I do. When I get to the next game of this thing, which will be the Game Boy game. The old Game Boy game, not the Game Boy Advance game. That might be the third one. Or I might do Gradius 3 for the arcade. Do the PlayStation 2 version. That thing just destroyed my entire thing. No remorse. Like, there's a point where I don't mind playing a Gradius game in the low power state. There's like 2 ways you play Gradius. You play it either through maximum firepower, then you have a blast doing it, or you play it through a low power state where you now have to figure out how to play the game with almost no power-ups ever. Because you'll just work your way to a checkpoint, and then that. Like, the only way, there's a couple ways to kind of fix this, and there's a couple Gradius games I think that have the right idea. But then limited continues kick in, and it ruins the entire thing. Any good thing that the idea had is ruined because of limited continues. And like I said, like playing through a Gradius game low power run is kind of neat in its own run. It's like 2 separate games, basically. I don't necessarily like playing Gradius in low power run, but I'll do it. It's neat because you get to kind of climb your way back up to the power-ups. It's like, it's fine to some levels, but then there's just some levels that just don't give you power-ups, ever. And you're stuck at no speed, no weapons, and then they give you something that would be better if you had like a bunch of like damage per second, or just throw a bajillion bullets at you. The game expects you to almost be fully powered all the time, which is not a good thing to be. Like, I think the games do have like some curve-ness to it, where it'll be like, oh no, actually if you're like low powered, we'll go a little easier on you sometimes. But this is A, sometimes, and B, it's not guaranteed. Sometimes it just won't even do that. Sometimes it's still the same difficulty no matter what. Also, up ahead is like one of the douchiest moves in this entire game. Well, one of 2 douchiest moves, and they're both in this level, technically. Douche move number 1 is coming right up. So, you have to get about right here, where you die. That bottom wall just comes out of nowhere, squishes you, game over. Like, you just die. If you forget that's there, you're dead. That is a trial by... That is a... trial by error kind of thing. You learn by dying, and you only understand it by dying to it like a bajillion times. Not good design. And again, then you lose all your power-ups, and it's not even like that, because you have to remember on any run, and all this other stuff, and it's terrible. Second douchiest move, which is why I'm putting a save state here. This part, which I think I actually figured out what you're supposed to do here. I think this run I actually figured out what you're supposed to do. Like, actually, like a little bit ago I figured it out, but... yeah. You just go all the way to the... oh. I forgot I died. Oh, I guess... okay. Yeah. I still have access to the code at this point. Thankfully. I think I messed it up, but... I was able to do it. The best idea is to kind of start from one end and go to the other. But yeah, okay, so thankfully I got a 1-up right there. So, I'm gonna call it that, well, I'll say, I'll do it later. My brain jumps like back and forth, since I know what happened. Another save state. This isn't the last level, so I still have to preserve certain things. I don't think this part's that bad. I think this part's actually pretty good. Even on normal, as long as you have like some type of firepower. Of course, if you don't, then you might be doomed. Ripple, one thing that's more bad about Ripple is I swear it does not hit. Like, half these enemies have like small weaknesses, which is great for like your smaller weapons, but like for most of your laser weapons, if they shoot in a straight line, or the ball, because even if it gets hit along the wall, it's fine. Yep, that's the last save state I used, and that's the one we're gonna have to. Yeah. technically, I'm kind of mad at the situation that calls for it. Anyway, let's see. Alright, I want to finish this one thing. Remakes. The entire reason I brought up the Contra remake this entire time, I'm just going to go to it because I ramble. This is my one flaw, but also means that I will never stop talking. Which is great for commentary, because yes, I never shut up. Because my brain will wander and have like 6 different conversations that it's like prepared for. Also, it's the final stage. So, Contra remake. The one thing that makes me happy about it is, regardless if it's a remake of Contra 1, they're putting a story into it, which is always cool. And 2, it's just cool to see like Contra come back, because that means that's one step closer for maybe a new Castlevania game, maybe a new Goemon game. I would love that. There's a lot of series that Konami does, and Konami was like my favorite developer for the longest time. Like that and Capcom were like my top 2 favorites, because they always knew how to knock games out of the park. Even like some of their games they had under, like some of the Konami games they had under Ultra were still great. Great games. For example, the Turtles game for the first Turtles game. That game is solid. If I would have realized that my shield ran out, I could have popped it right there. Alright, well, time to use the code again. Time to use the code again. I guess the code doesn't work. Anyway, but that's the whole reason I brought that up, is that I hope maybe we'll see like a new Gradius game come out, maybe one with like actual plot and stuff like that. Or they remake the Gradius, they may remake Gradius 1, or like remake the Gradius series into like one solid game that explains like the whole Gradius lore. You know, that'd be cool. I would love that. Mystical Ninjas. I'll just love a new Mystical Ninja game. Got Rake 2. That's just disappointing. This is how you do this. In Horoscope, I'm this one because it's Libra. I look up which one was Libra because I honestly did not know. I am Libra, so you know, like right on the verge of Libra, I think. And this is where I had to use that load state. The only time. I mean, to be fair, this game still requires a lot of technical skill to get through it, especially on normal. Like, I've beaten this on easy. Even on easy, this game is a pain. It's just you don't have to deal with the bullets. That's like the biggest difference between easy and normal. Easy, basically like 90% of the enemies that shoot bullets don't shoot bullets, or don't shoot as many bullets. So it's just a lot easier to deal with. And like, I've beaten this on easy normally, but when I'm showing my son, I use the cheat code because I put more stock into showing him what the game, like what all the levels of the game look like, rather than get stuck in one level and then him get bored of watching that one level over and over again. You know, that's my thought process, and that's why I started using the code to get through this game. I mean, that still takes skill. It just basically means that you have access to all the power-ups. That's the biggest thing. That's like the biggest thing that having the the freaking code does. Now, to be fair, I've talked about all the stuff that I would like, that would make a great Gradius game in Gradius' current form, where you have to do all these power-up things. And that is basically like, if you have to do the grind, infinite continues is fine. Infinite continues is maybe a stage select. I think that was my biggest problem with the PSP version. The PSP version, for some of the games, actually had infinite continues. But you still had to, I got killed again in the same exact spot. Anyway. So. What is it? No. Anyway, so my biggest thing is that, like, this game has either two modes of play: no powers or full power. If you can get full powered up by the end of stage 1 or 2. You know, in one stage you can have all your power ups. I wish this thing would just show the things in front of me, because it makes this nerve wracking. I hate this part. This part just puts me on edge every time, because that thing grows on you, you're just dead, and that's it. I hate that particular mechanic. That's like the worst mechanic in all of Gradius. And now to go fight the final boss. Hooray! It's the final boss. His name is Jim. Actually, I don't know what his name is. But he looks like he has the face to say he has the greatest mind in all of Corneria. And right there where he's speaking, that's what I imagine him saying. Only I have the mind to rule the Lilac system. And he's dead. Easiest. Well, Gradius has the easiest final bosses. It's so sad. Yeah. Anyway. And now our ship is like all wrecked and destroyed and stuff. Like I said, with some of these, I don't care. I'm not trying to prove anything. If I have to use save states to get through some of these runs, I'll do it. But if the game has a stage select or a infinite continue system, then I'll just do that. I don't care. Like, the Game Boy Advance game has infinite continues, and that's perfectly fine. It also has a stage select, so you can actually just go back to the start of a stage if you feel stuck and actually want to get some power-ups. Usually the beginning of a stage has power-ups. And that's the thing, like, the beginning of most of these stages has power-ups, so you can go gather them, get powered up, and actually feel like you have a chance against the end game. But my son was making a joke right here when I was playing this originally about, I'll do it again. Start over. And technically every time I would play this on the Super Nintendo, he'd walk up to the Super Nintendo, or the Retro Duo, turn it off and turn it back on and say again. Without even letting me enjoy the credits, which is rude. My son's kind of rude. Barely listens to me, but yeah. Yeah, Konami was one of my favorite things. I actually wanted to work at Konami growing up, and Capcom. Both those companies were like dream things where I would love to have worked with them. Challenge hard mode, no thank you, but technically the video is not actually over yet because I was still trying to entertain my son, so hard mode it is. And me trying to put in the code again, and it didn't work. So I had to start over with no code. But yeah, long story short, this one's my favorite only due to nostalgia. And honestly, technically, I might even bump it down after... Basically, by the time I recorded this, the day I recorded this, like, I had just beaten, the Game Boy version. So... I'm gonna probably record voices for that here in just a moment. Like I had also footage of those things. I'm going to record some of the arcade ones, so my computer is being slow today, so... But it shouldn't be an issue. I should have it should have fixed itself, and I'll have something trying to help fix it running tonight. Oh, now I got the power-ups. It's so inconsistent. What allows you to use the power-up again? Like we literally seen that I couldn't use it a second ago, but now I have it? Why? Anyway, but yeah, also the force shield, having like the force shield, like, just completely drop off. Anyway, my ideal for like what would be a better Gradius game, and this comes to me because like, I've played a game, and technically I played it on stream, which can be found on this channel. There's a game called Super Mario Galaxy, made by Softendo. It's a fan game, obviously. And in it, it's a space shooter. It's a top-down space shooter instead of one of these. But it brings up the most interesting aspect. Throughout the game, you're going through all these different levels, you collect coins, and you use those coins to buy new weapons and then upgrade them. You upgrade them, give them more power. They do like certain number of damage. And then, yeah, just imagine playing a Gradius game where you had like a system like that, where your ship still did all this crazy stuff. Like, you still did like a bajillion, you still had like the options, you still had all this stuff. But it leveled up as you progressed, and you never didn't have them. So like when you die, you just start back up at the start of the level, or whatever, and try again. Maybe you have a health bar that also gets upgraded as you progress through the game. Like a health and a shield bar that upgrade a little bit. Levels are still kind of like this, but you just have these things, and like, for the sake of anything, if the levels were still about this long, then, well, let's go for that. Let's say the levels are still about this long. And, oh yeah, by the way, Loop 2 is insane. Let's not point that out. Look how insane this is. Just for this boss. Anyway. So, you go to, but like, the game is still about this length, right? But you never lose your power-ups, but you're always constantly getting them. Maybe it takes a while to like slowly build up all the power-ups, and that, or whatever. That could work. And like, maybe the health system would be a bit much, but I mean, they put a health system in the new Contra game, and that seems to work just fine. Also, this game has a horrendous slowdown. As a side note, especially when you're just firing projectiles at all times. Oh man. Super slow down. I still can't wait to see what half this game looks like in the arcade version. Because I've never experienced that, and it's so different. Like, the first boss is so different. I'm excited to show that. I'm also excited to go to the Game Boy Advance game at some point and record that. But, yeah. So, yeah, so, think of that. Think of like the speed, and we'll have like all these different things, have all the different weapons, the shields, like all the custom options that you have in this. But you can like add them to that. Maybe even have like the different satellites, instead of shooting the same projectile as you, they shoot different ones. And then you have to navigate and figure out how to like which ship is the best option. And basically, like, I look at the health like this. In Life Force, you get like 3 lives, 3 or so lives. And when you explode, you just pop back in with a new life. And instead of like the power-ups here, you still get like some kind of power. Well, obviously like a lot of the power-ups would probably be like the red ones would probably be replaced with like coins, like money, to get the power to buy the power-ups from the shops. That'd probably be the best use. Like take the space scrap from the enemies and like collect that to or the power cores from the enemies and take that to do that. I got exploded because I was trying to dodge the option man. The option man, the option man. Oh, and I got it again. Cool. Got one last chance to save the universe. Anyway, so the option man. Oops. Overshot laser. Again, regular fire is not terrible. And you can even have like the option to have like the regular fire. And like even see like how much damage everything does. And again have like the powered up versions of them. All locked behind like stuff where you need to like purchase them. It's basically kinda like the same thing, except maybe it's more mission based. So that it's like go over to this easy level to go pick up power cores. Go over to this harder level. Like it could be stuff like that. If you really wanted to make it something really cool, you could do like a procedural like setup where it's like it has like a bunch of set levels, but like it randomly generates which one you want. It can even kind of maybe make this into a roguelike thing, kind of like I've seen with some games. There's a game on my Switch that I totally like to play for this, but for a game clear at some point. But I would need to get it on Lynn's Switch and set that up, or get a new Switch that lets me hook up to the TV instead of my Switch Lite. Yeah, that's game over. Now I got rank 1. Hooray! Now I can type in my name for realsies. Oh, I did this because when I played the game, when I started it, I hopped right into it without thinking. So I did all this to secretly get back to the title to show up the opening of the game. And right here, I was trying to distract Noah to like just. I think I even hit the fast forward key like a slight bit there to let me do this. Here's the opening. And there we go. That's Gradius 3. That's the whole game. So yeah, that's my thoughts. And I would love to see a game like that with a thing. You know what? I'll continue this conversation in the next part, which will be Gradius for the Game Boy. See you there.